Hi there, welcome back to Not Another Budget. I'm Nicole, and on this channel I'm attempting to cash budget my way out of debt and fix several years of financial misbehaviour. And if that's something you're interested in following along with, please don't forget to stick around and check out the other content that I have created for you on this channel. Now, this is not something you would normally see, but as part of Vlogtober, I thought that I would try and do some different style of videos. I would also take the opportunity to fill you in on how things have been going with regards to teacher training, because a lot of you have asked, am I enjoying it? How's it going? And I thought that I would take today to organise this new arrival, which I now kind of cover why I have these when I talk a little bit more about teacher trainingness. But I decided that I was going to get some graphic rendering pens, the likes of which you can see here. Now, because I want them for a school-based purpose, things that I can use at school to either do demonstrations or to create resources and things very, very quickly. I didn't want to invest in a brand like Spectrum Noir, which are pretty good when it comes to things like these, as much as I want them. Because you're looking at anywhere from £10 to for 4 pens, all the way up to significant amounts of money, but also because they were going to be used in a school setting, and actually, a pen could go missing or anything like that, and I would feel less brokenhearted about one of these, which is an Amazon's version, let's put it that way, of the brand. And it's what I spent my personal money on. So when I got my bursary payment through on Friday, I ordered this as my kind of big thing for me. Now, the total price for all of this, including the carry bag, was £52.89, and that was over half of my personal spending allowance gone. And at first I was really, really excited, and then I've just been less excited. The purpose for needing them is still there, but then at the same time, like, the sensible part of my brain was like, well, just go and start buying the nice ones slowly and building them up. And then I looked at some reviews, and they were, although like they were the best reviewed of all of the kind of own brand Chinese made and manufactured, like Chinese made and dispatched items, there were still lots of kind of, the whole kit was great, but 3 or 4 pens, the nibs were completely dry. Some of them had run out already. There was damage to the casing, so I knew I was going to have to do some quality control checks. And I thought that I would initially, this video would be me basically creating a colour swatch, and it'd be nice and easy. And then they turned up and they were all like this, and they're not in order, and it is stressing me out. So and I'm also trying to work out why I have number 366 when I do not have 366 pens here. So I don't know how I'm going to accumulate the missing gaps, and that is also going to stress me out. So I have a feeling this may be a failed cheap purchase, and that what you get what you spend money on, basically. But before I even colour test them, before I quality control them, I'm going to have to get them in order from 1 to whatever. And things like F7, I don't know if that is something different. They've also got like CG. I've got this is just like a real mixed batch, and I don't know. I want to be really pleased by this order, and I don't think I'm going to be. But while I put these in order, we're going to have a chat about, ignore the laundry going off in the background as well. We're going to have a chat about me and how I've been in terms of teacher training so far, because some of you have asked, and it's probably just going to be easier for me to do a whole video or maybe a 2-parter depending on phone battery than it is for me to just kind of drop it in here or there, and then you guys can just come and refer back to it. So it's officially for me the start of my week 5. So as of today, or the Tuesday, it's my full kind of 5 weeks, start of my 5 weeks. And the way my week is structured and the way that I am doing the scheme is I'm not going in directly through a university based route. I am doing a PGCE, but that is done in partnership via an online distance learning course with my teacher training provider. So that's the first thing to kind of get you guys up to speed with, is that although I am training to be a teacher and I am doing a qualification, my postgraduate certificate in qualification, I'm not doing it through a university where the university arranges my placements for me. That also means that I am therefore training in school for 4 days a week, and I am on a full timetable. Now, I do have 3 periods within that time, and each day I will probably be assigned to lessons, not yet fully teaching. I'll be assigned to lessons for 3 periods a day, and then I will have 2 periods where I can direct my own study and either do observations or PGCE work or anything like that. It's very self-directed. I have a mentor in my department. I then have a subject specific tutor who teaches us or who kind of makes us aware of how behaviour management can be administered within my department, and they are not normally working in the school that you are in, but it just so happens that in this case the person in question is the head of my department. So I'm really, really lucky. It's a small department. There's my mentor, there's one other teacher who is part-time, and there is the head of department who is also my subject tutor, and they're both involved in my training. I then also have a professional studies tutor every Thursday morning for 2 hours, and she is one of the assistant heads of the school. And then every Monday I will either be with my subject tutor on 1 week, and then I alternate the next week and I'm with my PGCE, or not my PGCE, my teacher training provider, and we look at reading, we look at you know, how different forms of assessment, as in how would you assess a child's learning. You look at the challenges that teachers are facing today in terms of making sure that everything is adaptive and accessible, and that's going to tie a little bit into what I'm going to talk about. We look at, you know, content-rich curriculum, so making sure that actually now the curriculum in the UK is supposed to be you know, the best, the knowledge that's being taught is the best that is currently, that is available, and it's about, you know, enhancing people's lives and well-being and giving, basically trying to have like a new enlightenment in terms of education. It's neither here nor there as to whether that can be achieved under the current political climate. I'm going to say probably not, but that is the intention, and that's very much how we are being taught to teach. And there's been a lot of disjointedness for the first 12 weeks because one of my, I mean, it's a tick box exercise, because I know that I will not go and teach in a special educational needs school, and I know that I will not go and teach in a primary school. They're not environments where I have a desire to teach. But I had to go and do some experience there as pretty much as a tick box exercise, I'm ashamed to say. I also had to go spend time in a primary school. I had to take part in school-based events, which means that when the school was shutting for half days for like open evenings and school sponsored walks and things like that, and activity days already, that's obviously impacting on the time that I have to learn and what I am doing. And then obviously as well, it's getting used to a new environment, new colleagues. It's me being a student again when I've not been a student for the past decade. It's getting used to school environments. It's different, it's the use of language in a different way. You know, I think I speak and project quite well, but apparently whatever I'm hearing in my head in terms of volume isn't high enough, and it's coming across as quite monotone, which is really hard to hear, I will be honest. I thought I was doing a really good job, and you know, the first lesson that you get up and you do a thing and you're like, yeah, I'm using all the right language, it's fantastic, and your mentor and your reserve is like, yeah, really, really good content. Problem is, it was just all one tone, and I'm like, great. So what I thought I was hearing in my head, which was inflections and enthusiasm and different levels of tone and raising your voice when you need to, and then measuring and being calm and measured, no, it was not the case at all. I can't find 19 if anyone's wondering why I have stopped. I could say tell me in the comments, but by the time this is released, I'm hoping I'd have completed this exercise. So it's things like that getting used to again, and having worked with adults, the way you issue instructions to an adult is completely different to the way you issue instructions to a child, and I am learning that, because you don't ask a child to do things, you tell them to do things, and you make them aware of consequences and encourage them to make good choices about their actions. So there's things like that, there's terminology, there's acronyms galore, for goodness sake. I think every week I'm running into another acronym, and I'm just going to have to, and I'm having to go to someone and being like, what do these 3 words mean? Can we use the English language, please? And can we just have like a dictionary definition down the side of what all of these acronyms are, because I am stumbling over them. So that has been a thing. But therefore, all of the disruption and time spent off timetable means that actually I haven't really been able to establish a routine for myself, both outside of work and then realistically in school. And there is a certain amount of reporting that I have to do, both back to my 21, 22, 23, 24, both back to my provider, and also to the school itself, and keeping on top of paperwork and things. And because I've had that disjointedness, it has been quite hard to get a system in place where I can sit there and go, right, okay, this evening I'm just going to sit and knock out all of my admin, and then tomorrow evening I'm going to have it off, and then here I'll do this instead. So I will get that done and in place, but because I have had that disjointedness where my hours and my commuting hasn't been regular, it's something I have got to work through and come to terms with. I am more settled and far more content as a person if there is a bit more of a routine. Will my school day change at a drop of a hat because that's what the school environment is like? Yes. But if I at least have a rough idea of when my day is starting and ending, and therefore what I am doing outside of that time as well, so that actually I can balance my own health and well-being, I just tend to find that I'm a lot happier as a person, you know? That doesn't seem like too much of a thing to ask, but I will get there. I will get there. It's just something that I need to adapt to. 29, 30, 31. I have seen 31. I've also just seen 24 as well. Oh, cameras. So that has been going on. Within that, the reading, it's been a really, really long time since I have had to read for university. So that has, I'm not as fast a reader as I thought. And there's lots of reflective writing and things like that, which part of me feels like, I will be honest, I'm repeating myself on multiple occasions and writing the same thing down just in slightly different words. But if that is what is required, then fine. I'm not going to complain about that. And at the same time as well, I can't fault the support that is there. I do feel very much supported by the scheme. I am pleased with who I have chosen as my provider. And also I made the decision to go and try and be in a school as much as I could, even while I was training, and not go down the purely university route, because I knew, coming in from a professional background, that I needed as much exposure and as much experience to a school as I could get, because it's not an environment which is normal to me, and hasn't been. When I was that age, back in secondary school, there was a completely different curriculum. There was different levels of funding. There was different levels of access. The teachers were all older. There were no real young teachers. If they were young teachers, it was odd. So the whole thing is different. The use of language is different. in one way, it's quite comforting to know that actually kids still find the same things dramatic. They still act the same. They still roll their eyes. I think teenagers are utterly hilarious. Mainly because, as someone who's had a little bit of life under their belt, the things that teenagers get dramatic about, I can't stop laughing. And there's been a few occasions where I have had to just kind of, put the discipline face on, and inside I'm like, good one. Like, yep, good one. But I can't do that. You can't convey that. But I find, teenagers are hilarious, and at the same time I'm starting to do a lot more taught inputs. I taught my first full lesson on Friday evening, just gone, or Friday period 5 I should say, with the year 7s, and that was almost carnage, or it felt like carnage because it was period 5 on a Friday, and I'm in a really supportive environment, and I know that I will never get the time again in my professional career to actually just ask to go and observe another teacher, and to have time to read and do the reflective writing, and to be able to essentially, as long as I'm there for when the school is ready to go, okay, yep, I'm gonna go in for 7 a.m. because I like getting work done quietly in the mornings first, and therefore I'm going to be out by like 3:20 as soon as the school buses have gone. I know that I'm not going to get that window, so I am really trying to treasure that, and once I get my routine sorted, as I've said, I'm going to be a lot happier. There is a small caveat, which is that I didn't realise when I started that this would require financial things from me. And I'm kind of saying that in a certain way because I don't quite know how I'm going to talk about this next thing. So we are just going to knock the camera like so and figure it out. What I mean by that is that I am teaching and training to teach for the first 2 terms. So from September to March in a school which has a good percentage of kids which are coming from financially comfortable situations. They are not the free school meals demographic challenges. They are not generally parents who are going to struggle to be able to afford things. If you say to a parent your child needs coloured pens and pencils for their class, providing the coloured pens and pencils as a whole would not be a problem. Now, as teacher trainees, we are being taught as part of this content-rich curriculum and as part of being effective teachers that you need to make sure as a teacher that your resources are accessible and adaptable. And that means that a lower retaining child and a higher retaining child should be given exactly the same resource or set of questions or colouring in thing to access, and they should both be able to complete it. They should both have the option to challenge themselves if they want to, or work at a level they're comfortable with, and there should be no clear differentiation between the two. And in fact, the word differentiation is, I've kind of coming to realise, is very much being discouraged in usage, and this is just how we're being trained. Now, I know I've got teachers in my comments and amongst my viewers, and this is just currently how we're being trained, and I'm aware that obviously old habits die hard, and in fact my mentor is a real big fan of the word differentiation. He thinks in a really positive way, and I'm trying not to say, and I'm not saying to him we're not allowed to use that word anymore. But I do get the methodology behind it. Now, as someone who is training to teach design and technology, the resources and accessibility of things that I can create, there's a different level of challenge there because it's working practically, and it's saying to students, bring your pens and pencils. Now, I am observed and I am judged essentially while I am teacher training on my ability to meet these really core criteria, and one of them is making sure your resources that you create are accessible and adaptable. Now, in terms of the physical content of them themselves, there's not been a problem so far. They seem to be going okay, and I've been very, had lots of good feedback. Now, just because the majority of children at the school I'm training to teach do not fall into an economic hardship category does not mean that that does not apply to every child. And as a school, their policy is that they will not provide children with the materials beyond a pen, a pencil, a ruler, a rubber, and a pencil sharpener, because it's teaching them how to be independent and to look after the things they have. So I'm in this real catch-22 where I know I have got children who are classed as pupil premium, free school meals, parents who cannot, literally, genuinely cannot afford to get them the coloured pens and pencils and the things that they need to complete my class and to do their resource and to not be treated any differently to their peers. So I have found myself designing resources that are perfectly fine to use, and because my school's policy is that they will not provide these things, in theory 4 kids in my class of 24 can't access it. On paper, that's not a bad thing, but this whole policy now is that it's meant to be accessible, it's meant to be fine, everyone's meant to, you know, be able to use it. There is no discrimination. And I want to teach. I'm not getting anywhere with that row up there. I have stalled at number 46. So we're going to start down here. I want to teach my subject, design and technology, because I adore it. Genuinely adore it. And I want people who do not have... I want people who to have the opportunity to study it and love it as much as I do. And in terms of my own schooling background, I was not privately educated, but I was really lucky to go to a very, very, very good state free school. I was very, very lucky to get into one of the free top 6 forms in the area. And in fact, at the time when the country was releasing its league tables for 6 forms, which is ages 16 to 18, amongst the whole of them, including the private schools, mine was up there and in number 3, you know, 3rd behind your very, very fancy posh private schools. So I have had the benefit of a really fantastic state free education. And I won, and I love my subject, and I was encouraged to love my subject, and I was given and had access to the resources that I needed to do because, you know, my parents made education a focus. They therefore meant that if we needed things to complete that education, coloured pens, pencils, trips to see a National Trust property that we were studying in history or anything like that, it was accommodated as best as my parents could based on their income at the time. I am now teaching kids who are in that situation. I'm equally teaching children who cannot afford to eat properly. So I have said to my mentor, well, look, what am I meant to do? Because there is on my observation sheet, there is an observation question designed by this program, this scheme that I'm on. Are all our kids able to access all of the resources? Do they have the tools they need? I said, so if I don't provide these pens and pencils for these kids, and you can't draw attention to the fact that you need to provide them, they need to be made available for the whole class, how can I pass this? Because this is just this school specific. If I go down the road to my next school where I'm going in the 3rd term, everything is provided, and I know that because there is another trainee on the same cohort who is currently doing her training there. But for the first 2 terms, when I'm learning how to be a teacher, I am encountering this problem. And so I have found myself over September and over this weekend going out and going to places like the Works and going to try and go, okay, right, fantastic. Wilco's is closing down. That's really, really sad. But they've got, what have they got? They've got their pencils, a pack of 50 pencils, coloured pencils for £2.50. Brilliant. I'll get 4 packs. Or I will find myself in the works, going, right, I've got a student discount, wonderful, so I'll get this and I'll get this and I'll get this, and I'll wait for the train to go past. And it does mean then that I am moving things around in my budget, and I am making decisions that I didn't want to have to make, and I'm literally sitting there shuffling money around for this. And I want kids to access the resources. I'm proud of the resources that I'm creating, and I do genuinely believe that they are going to be of benefit and genuine use to the kids that are going to use them. The problem is they need to use them. So when I'm going out over a weekend and I'm going and spending £35 on pens and pencils, cheap pens and pencils, colouring in pens and things like this, which, yes, are for me, but would I prefer to buy the really fancy branded ones? Yes. I am struggling with that a little bit. I'm struggling with, morally, is this do I just have to sit there and go, okay, right, I'm not in a position where I can give to charities. I give to my local food bank and support that around Christmas time, but is this the thing that I do, through my job? Do I make sure that actually the kids that can't afford pens and pencils are still able to do and take part in a task? Because I don't want any child to sit there in my classroom and be like, well, there's no point me doing this task because I haven't got the things I need to do it, and everyone's going to know, and I don't want to draw attention to it. So there is then potentially an incident of behaviour because it's a way of distracting and the child gets out of the task. And I've seen this happen in this school. That the school's policy is very much, we are teaching them to be independent and look after their things. We will give them the one set, the one pen, pencil, pen, biro, whatever. If they break it, if they lose it, if it gets damaged, it's their responsibility to replace it. I think that attitude exists personally because only 10% of the school, which is 130 students out of 1,300 total students, technically fall into that category. In reality, I know there are probably parents out there who do not meet the criteria for free school meals, but equally still can't afford to buy their kids coloured pens and pencils, and that is tragic. So I think it comes with teaching a practical subject, a very, very practical subject like design and technology. On one hand, I am enjoying the learning environment. I'm also getting a chance to go and learn things that I've not learnt before so that I can teach them effectively. I've got access to amazing machinery. We're really well equipped, and the focus is definitely on making. And to someone who is a maker designer, that is, massive, massive thumbs up. But, I've got to hit this tick box exercise. I've got to be able to do this. Like, we have to evidence everything. We have to evidence that our resources are this, and we've got to do that, and that's fine. And then I'm running into this real crunch, and it might just be my own morals, and it might just be my own moral compass, which is kind of getting in the way a little bit. But I'm there going, okay, I have to meet these requirements. The kids need to be able to access this. How do I get them to access it? If they can't provide it, it's got to be me. Realistically, am I in the financial position to do this? Not really. But I equally know that I'm not the only teacher who is facing this quandary, who is making sure there is food for the pupils they are teaching, breakfast clubs that teachers are running at in their own time, and everything like that. And I know when I go to my next school to train in, because I have to train in 2 schools, this will not be a moral quandary because the things will be provided for. And I can very much sit there and try and think logically and go, right, okay, this is an investment, so that if ever I go to a school where things can't be provided and there is not the budget for these supplies, I know at the least that the kids that I'm teaching, will have what they need to do this. That is where there's been both good and bad. Am I enjoying it so far? Yes, but my kind of own morals and my own desire for the course, for the kids that I am teaching, are coming into play a little bit. And it's how do you combat that as a teacher? Do you just sit there and go, ultimately, I'm okay, these people are not, I'm going to do what I can and look after them? As a teacher, unless Ofsted come in, are you not assessed on whether your resources are accessible and adaptable until Ofsted come in? I mean, is that what's going on? I don't know. I also equally know, looking at these pens, that I don't have every single one, and I'm still knocking it, and I am, slightly regretting this purchase. So this may not be a purchase that stays with me very long. In fact, this may actually be going back, and I may just look at getting the nice ones and keeping them for myself. So yes, that is where we are. So that is kind of a video that I wanted to do, get things just off my chest. Back to the teachers that are in my comments. If any of you guys have any advice for this quandary, particularly if you are teaching practical subjects like art and design, technology, textiles, any kind of MVQ or BTEC or anything that's like practical, where actually you need a little bit more than a pen and a biro and a basic pencil case, that would be really, really appreciated. I can't not create these resources, and I can't not make sure they are accessible, and everything like that. So that is kind of the caveat. You may say in your comments, once you start teaching, it's fine, you won't run into this, just do it this way, blah blah blah. I do have to meet the requirements of my assessment pieces. But yeah, that's how things are going. I'm not enthused with this. They feel cheap. Anyway, that's that kind of video. I am fine, guys, by the way. I just thought, right, let's just talk and get this off my chest and reach out to the wisdom that is in the comments and to the teachers that are in my comments, and let me know your thoughts. Do you, as a teacher, find yourself, even with your own budgets being stretched, making sure that the kids who you teach have what they need to do the job? Particularly if the school's policy is not to provide, or if the school genuinely cannot afford to provide. Please let me know. I would be very, very interested to hear. On that note, I'm going to love you and leave you. See you tomorrow for the rest of Vlogtober. And yeah, see you next time. Bye-bye for now.